Hey, thanks for having me this morning.
Tony, school's back in session all across the state. You guys have got a lot of things that are out there available for parents, teachers, and others to help our youngsters succeed. What's new this year?
Well, there's a lot of things that are new, and there's so many things that I'm glad you referenced that we have the resources. You know, that's one of the number one things I hear about is how do I find out more about this or this? They're not sure who to talk to at a local level or even at the state level. And things do change, as you referenced. And so we look at some of the changes in how we're doing the accountability with the growth model this year, and we'll talk a little bit more about that if we have a minute. So along that line, though, there are references online. So LouisianaBelieves.com, I want everyone that's listening to reference that site. LouisianaBelieves.com, we have a ton of stuff for parents. There's the back-to-school guides on there. And what's great about the school guides is that it really helps parents kind of orient themselves for whatever age group they have. You know, so whether it's younger children or high school children, everything in between, it's really kind of what to expect throughout the calendar year, expectations for learning, and so on and so forth. There's a great support toolbox for families, but I will tell everyone who's listening that it's a lot of downloads. There's a lot of resources there, but when you first get to the site, you may get a little bit disoriented. There's so many things there, but if you take a few minutes and really explore it, I guarantee you're going to find some awesome resources for you.
I'm looking at it now, and it brings up an interesting point that we don't talk about enough. It's really important that parents get involved and go to these back-to-school nights, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the more parental involvement we have, the better the whole thing works. It's great for our children to see their parents involved and have that support, but it's great for our educators to have that support from the parents as well. You know, we put a lot on our educators' back, on the school system's back, and they play an important role and a vital role, but they shouldn't have to do it themselves. So the more that we can get parents involved in this, supporting their children and supporting the classrooms, the teachers, and the schools, the better off we're all going to be.
Tony Davis, BESE member. Let me talk about accountability a minute. Dr. Lamar Gorey from Caddo was on with us a couple of weeks ago, and he made it real clear the grading system for our schools is changing this year. The standards, you guys have pushed them up higher, and we do expect to see more schools struggling. Tell us about the change, why it was made, and what's going to happen.
First of all, I want to commend Superintendent Gorey. It's great to have these kind of conversations and be very honest, transparent, and candid with the public about this. That yes, we have upped the standards, and there will be some changes because of that. But it's not the end of the world, and we are still moving forward with everything. And so, you know, why those changes? For a long time, we in Louisiana have essentially aimed for the middle, and we've said if you can get to this basic level, then congratulations, that's an A, and you've moved forward. But the very real evidence of the fallacy and something like that is when you imagine a parent whose child has graduated from high school as an honor student and an A student, and they go to a rigorous college, maybe out of state, for instance, or even in state, and they realize they're in remediation classes or they're not the same level that their peers are at. That's because we haven't taught to that level over the years, and that's just the aim that we had. It was wrong, and so what we've done is we've aligned that better. We know that every student in this state can learn as well as any other student anywhere in the world, and we're just bringing that bar up a little bit and saying let's get a little bit more knowledge out there. We're helping to support our educators to be able to reach those bars, to help their children reach those to their classrooms, and because of that, that means that the standards that were in place last year in terms of where the scores are may fall a little bit short in some areas for where those new bars are for this year. So it's important to recognize that, yes, there may be some changes within those systems, but everyone is getting resources to help them move forward. Everyone is buying into this. We know that our students can reach the new levels. They will reach those new levels as we move forward, but there will be a little bump in the road this year when we see some of those scores come back.
Mr. Tony, your background is basically a business guy. You president, CEO of the Natchitoches Chamber of Commerce, among others. How has your background in business, how has that helped you or to some degree hindered you in dealing with the BESE and education bureaucracy?
You know, I think it's been great to bring a little different perspective, sort of, I guess to say, from outside the system to the board. I have wonderful relationships with all of our board members, and they all bring different perspectives, but all of them have some level of experience within the classroom, and I do not. But what I can bring to this is a real discussion about we're here teaching these students so they become productive members of society. The folks that I have worked with for years and years and years, the business and industry side of this, they're hiring these people. That's what we want to happen at the end of the day. We want them to start their own businesses. We want them to be great employees. We want them to move up. We want them to be contributing to the economy, contributing to these companies. And there's got to be a view from that side. We've got to say, hey, let's have a candid conversation that maybe we're not training them to this level that we ought to. Maybe there's some skill sets that we should be addressing differently. When we look at Jumpstart, that's a wonderful idea there. But using my background, my experience, I've had some great conversations with the department, and through our work with BESE, we've kind of tasked the department with evaluating that, and we're looking at how we make some changes for that system, because when it was put in place, we moved in a certain direction, and we've had our first graduating cohort this past May that went all the way through the Jumpstart program. But we also realized that it's not aligning as well as it ought to with the actual needs in the state from employers, the skill sets that they need. And so I'm glad to be able to bring that perspective and say, let's look at this again a little differently. And that's a new thing for folks. Programs like the work keys that we've implemented in and provided some compatibility between work key scoring and ACT scoring for the school accountability piece. That's an important program. We were discussing this at the last BESE meeting, and while there was some familiarity at different degrees across the board, there was no one who had worked as closely with that program as I had. I led Natchitoches Parish in moving to become a work-ready community, and I've now worked with NLEP in the Shreveport-Bossier area so that MSA, which includes DeSoto and Webster, are moving towards work-ready status as well. But having that perspective is very helpful. On the other hand, there are things where I am having to learn. It's a very steep learning curve. But it's been great to have folks who are willing to take time to help teach me. I try to make sure I always have to take the time to learn from the people, the educators in the classroom, from the administrators, from the superintendents, take that feedback and try to do the best we can with it.
Tony, let me ask you this. There are 2 failing schools in Caddo Parish. How close are they to being taken over by the state?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're that close, in the sense that we've worked with the superintendent and the system there for the transformation zone. And that's a model that we're looking at through ESSA in the sense that we have said, look, let's work with the local districts as much as we can to help provide the supports that they need to do things differently, maybe a little different innovation to that, just to break out of the mold of what they've done with other schools, because these schools do require that much more assistance. And so I know that from where I sit, I'd like to help the district as much as possible take care of its own schools rather than turn schools over to the state, which is operating out of Baton Rouge. It's a long way from Caddo. Yeah. If we can help provide the assistance that we need to the Superintendent Goree and the district there, I'd much rather see that occur.